Hello and welcome to Camera Central Podcast. Today, what we're going to be doing is something a little bit different. First of all, it's the return of the podcast, which is going to be exciting, looking to make it a more frequent thing, with me and Tyler talking about general relativity and general. Today, we're going to be talking about Tyler's life, the universe, and everything, including his career, everything he's done, as well as, some of the other bits and pieces that an origin story would take place in.
I feel like this is my beginning.
This is your beginning. Right now, this is his beginning. Not the middle, neither the end.
No.
This is his beginning.
All gets started from this moment onwards.
Okay, so my first question, I'm actually going to ask last, because it's going to make a little bit more sense.
Okay.
All right, so I think my second question, which is, where does it all begin? From the universe of Tyler.
Well, so my mum and my dad. No, I'm joking.
When a mother loves a father very much.
When a man and a woman love each other very much. So I suppose it got started in college.
Okay.
I want to say, and that was 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just appeared as an adult.
Just appeared as an entity.
Fully grown Tyler.
Fully grown, paranormal situation. And I think it was kind of an awakening. Like I was always into something more physically creative and arty.
Yeah.
And I was never good at anything else in school, to be completely honest with you. My grades were average, and I didn't really have, how like in school, like there's always that kid that has that one thing that they're like excellent at. There's like a kid who's really great at sports, and then there's a kid who's really great at math, and there's a kid that's really great at this.
What, Tyler? You telling me you weren't great at sports?
No, I wasn't. I was genuinely awful. I would do everything I could possibly do to get out of PE lessons. No problem at all. My mother will advocate for that. The amount of times I forgot my PE kit.
Oh, forgot. Yeah, no, Tyler.
Forgot, yeah. And I wasn't that guy. I was just average at everything. Yeah. To be honest, I had 7 C's at GCSE and 1 B grade, and the B grade was in IT.
Okay.
And I wasn't even like that good at art, to be completely honest with you. But because it was painting and drawing and all that kind of stuff, photography wasn't really a thing for us in school.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really exposed to it until college, and me and you did the same course. We?
Yeah, so something a little bit funny about me and Tyler is that we basically followed each other through life without ever actually to know each other until we met each other at Camera Central.
Yeah, which is funny. That's just gone screen.
We're going to be fine with that the entire time.
So yeah, we did the same course. We both did BTEC Creative Media Production at Gower College, Swansea.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Go sign in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had the wonderful Gary and Jared.
And shout out to all of them if you're watching.
If you're watching, I hope you are, because that would be cool.
It would be cool.
I mean? We should get them in
on
the podcast.
To be honest with you, every one of those teachers were absolutely freaking lovely.
They were awesome. Best 2 years of education I had, better than uni, actually. Yeah. Honestly.
Actually, where I met my missus as well, college.
Oh, was it really? It's nice. Yeah. Anyway, it's about me, not you. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So, and then I was exposed to the photography module on that course, which we did with Jared.
Yeah.
And we did the exposure triangle in one lesson. Yeah. And I distinctly remember it being an A block in college, which was known as a different name in college, but we won't go into that. Which is where all the dancers and drama kids were.
It was a pretty cool block.
It was, yeah. It was like the art center for the college. Yeah. And from there, I just started photographing some of the makeup students, like makeup work and stuff, and like realized that I was getting attention, which is something I wasn't getting before. And people were going, "Wow, that's really good and really great." And I was like, "Okay, maybe there's something here." And next thing you know, 15 years later, 200 weddings or more, corporate clients, portrait work, magazine stuff. Eurovision, Prides, any event you name it, I've done it, charities, and it's just consistently gone and grown from there. So I suppose college is where I found my interest in it. Yeah. But I've always had an interest in arty stuff and film and creative things and stuff.
I think it's something you can say for a lot of people, really. Like I do remember deciding what creative kind of career I went down. I never really decided until university, actually.
Hmm.
I knew I always wanted to do it, and I know I'm making this about me again, whatever. But it's one of those things where I think going to college, or even necessarily just picking up a camera, I think can end up becoming a lifelong, you know,
Oh yeah. You
ambition or
you either
love.
gravitate to it and you latch
Yeah,
onto it and you stick with it, or you don't.
mm,
It's just one of those things, you know.
yeah,
But like going into photography just give me so many opportunities to do things I would never have ever imagined being
yeah,
involved in. So it's opened up a lot of doors and a lot of creative opportunities and met a lot of people
yeah,
working here,
yeah,
like, meeting you and meeting loads of other people, and it's just sort of built a family. But 15 years later, you make a name for yourself.
yeah. Where did you find the passion for it? Was it still college, or did you start, taking on some work, or?
Yeah, I think college kind of ignited the flame,
Okay.
should we say. And then
What was your first job then,
my first job was what, photography wise?
photography wise?
It would have been like my first proper paid job was assisting a wedding photographer. Um, whose name was Tony Kluge. If you're watching, Tony, hi. I know he still watches my stuff. Um, who was a photographer based down in the Mumbles, or down towards the Mumbles,
Okay.
Swansea. A guy from Chicago, I believe. Sorry if I got that wrong, Tony. Who now lives in Wales.
Yeah.
And I emailed, I remember distinctly, because my first part-time job as a student was working in a bowling alley.
Was that
I
just?
was an alley cat. Yeah,
Oh,
which I used to give out the shoes and stuff, and used to spray the shoes,
yeah.
and then I used to chase the bowling balls when they got stuck
Oh,
and
nice.
stuff like that. That was my job.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was great fun. And I did 4 hours a week on £3.92 an hour, because that's how
Well,
much you
that
got
was way
paid then.
more than I was.
Yeah,
My first job was £3.30.
I know. That's what we used to earn. Could
Yeah.
not even live on that now, to be
No,
honest with
can't
you.
even
We're on
barely
like
live on
six
what we are.
times more than
Yeah.
that. But and I remember emailing probably about 20 different photographers in the local area going, hi, I'm at college and I want to
So there was a
get,
decision there to
mm,
distinctly go for a.
yeah, just distinctly go for wedding photography.
Okay.
Because I thought, me being me, I'll challenge myself at the fullest. And in my mind, wedding photography was the hardest that you could do because I, naively hadn't experienced anything else. Um, and only one photographer got back to me, and that was Tony.
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, why don't you come and join me on some weddings? We'll do a couple for free, see how you get on, go from there."
And do you think that's kind of the best way to do it? Because of course, when it comes to really starting out, you haven't got a portfolio.
No.
You haven't got really anything to kind of guide you into being a photographer,
Mm.
and especially in such a high strung environment.
Yeah.
Um, do you reckon just asking and seeing how be honest with where you
It's
are?
it's still the best way. Like if you can just give your time to something to see
Yeah,
whether it works or not, because let's be completely honest with now, as a photographer you're not worth paying unless you know what you're doing,
yeah,
and that's the god's honest truth. If you don't know what you're doing, go and just sit there and watch
yeah,
somebody. Okay, so the first wedding I did was at Craigenau's Castle
yeah,
in up the Swansea Valley, which
yeah.
funnily enough I did again this year. It was actually the last wedding I did this year.
Oh
Fun.
man,
And I didn't really take any photos that day, I'll be honest with you. Just sat there and watched Tony doing what he was doing.
yeah,
And then the second wedding came along, and I think that was Celtic Manor, I think, or one of them
yeah,
was. And then we got shooting, and we actually got to photograph stuff. We went up to North Wales at a place called Lake Vrunwy. It's a beautiful place if you've ever been there. Stunning.
yeah,
Lake Vrunwy Spa, Hotel and Spa, or whatever it's called. And we got to shooting some other stuff. And you have to learn how to be a photographer. There's a difference
yeah,
between taking good photos
yeah,
and being able to conduct yourself on a wedding day.
yeah,
Because you need to know how to speak to people. You need to know the running order of a wedding day. You
yeah,
need to know what photos go at what time. What's the typical running day of a
yeah,
wedding? I mean, you've shot weddings, you know that
yeah,
you get there. There's preparations, then there's ceremony, then there's this, that, and the other, and you know how to deal with things when they go wrong. as
yeah.
well. Like you need to know how to be able to do that
And these are all
before
kind
you're
of like
paid.
life skills you gain out of doing it, I
Hmm.
think. And then that's something which I feel like photography has done for me and a lot of people really has kind of like taught them a lot about kind of how to interact with the world, how to make business in some situations, and
Hmm.
how to build upon genuine life skills, which I think can last a lifetime.
Yes, and they're transferable.
Yeah,
That's the most important thing. So, doing weddings first was a huge advantage because it meant that whatever else I go into, I'm experienced at doing it. So, like if you're doing music photography, it's very much like doing a first
yeah,
dance situation, similar lighting setup, similar type of settings on your camera
yeah,
type, And then if you're doing on location portraits, great. If you can incorporate studio lights, then you suddenly learn how to do on
yeah,
location portrait with studio lights. Group shots, all those things. A wedding is tough and it's difficult because it is an amalgamation of all types of photography in one
yeah,
day. Um, and I also say to people, if you don't know what kind of photography you want to go into, do a wedding
yeah.
and then pick out the bits that you actually enjoyed the
Really
most.
enjoyed. Yeah,
And that's the bit you need to be doing. If you become passionate about doing the bride and groom shots and that's all you focus on, girl, you need to be in studio work or
yeah,
you need to be in business portraits or, and just keep trying things over and over again. And that's how I found my leg up. And that's how I can do so many different things
yeah,
because I did weddings for 15 years.
yeah,
So I know how to shoot certain things so well,
yeah,
or not so well. It's up to you.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, photography I think is purely subjective when it comes to
Mm.
what if you feel like a photo, if you feel like how good you are or how bad you are or how bad
Yeah.
somebody else is, it's purely subjective. But I think if you put your heart into it and you find the right moment, the right way to capture things, I think you can really capture some really
Yeah,
quite cool
it does.
stuff.
It does help,
Yeah,
honestly. And as long as people are still paying you and you're doing a good job.
no,
Um,
exactly. So, what was the hardest day of being a photographer for you?
Hardest day, COVID.
What, just the COVID,
The start of
like
the start of
entirely, or
COVID was because we were in such a time of uncertainty. Like, were you here when COVID lockdown
no?
happened? I don't think you were. So I didn't even know if I was going to keep this job.
Yeah,
Because nobody knew. Nobody knew what was.
yeah,
Thankfully, it all worked out,
yeah.
and Terry and Nick looked after me, and great.
Fantastic.
But
Yeah,
but at that time, because I have my photography business,
yeah,
which I run alongside the day job here. So you guys at home will know me as the social media manager for here, but I'm also a photographer, and I do that as much as I possibly can.
yeah,
Um, and I remember when the lockdown started happening, and I woke up the next morning. We were all at home. We all had to stay home. Some of us were furloughed. Some of us,
yeah,
were in work, furloughed and doing all that kind of stuff. We were sticking to the guidelines that people were telling us to stick to. And I woke up the next morning to 40 emails saying we need to cancel,
yeah.
photography wise. And that I say 40, that's being generous.
Mental.
Luckily at the time, as the lockdowns came out, people started to rebook or rearrange.
Yeah,
I had a few people move their wedding day 3 times
yeah.
because it was
Devastating.
just shit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I lost £40,000.
Did you?
That's how much I counted between that time because they went on for like what 2 years,
Yeah, it was
18 months.
mental. It was mental.
And it was like I didn't necessarily. I say I lost it. I had to wait longer for it,
Yeah,
and I lost probably about 20 grand
yeah,
across that time, which when you're self-employed and you're making 20 grand a year,
yeah,
that's a whole year's worth of
yeah,
wages just gone. That was probably the hardest point. But revelation, that's when I realized now's my chance because I've been wanting to get out of doing weddings for a long time
yeah,
because I had done them to a point. I know I've talked to you about this, but I'd done them to a point where I've
uh,
exhausted the passion for it.
yeah,
And I just got to a point where I was just doing it for the money.
yeah.
And I was just going, oh my God,
I
every
think when it
time.
comes to it's dangerous for that because I've I've been around some photographers, not necessarily people who used to work for, but like some photographers on wedding days when I've done them, and you
Hmm.
just see these people that are just purely just kind of like in it for the money now, and they
Yeah.
just don't care. And
And I
like
get
with
it.
weddings, I think I get it,
Mm.
but also it's such a special time for people.
It is, and look, we
Um,
don't want to ruin that for anybody, and we
no,
never have done, but there comes a point where you've done everything you've wanted to do in that subject.
yeah,
Because for me, the final bit was getting my sister's wedding done,
yeah,
both of them, right? Because I've two,
yeah,
and my last, my last sister, the baby sister, got married
yeah,
this year, at a really beautiful venue in the Cotswolds, and it was like she was marrying somebody who was quite famous.
yeah,
I won't say who that is for security reasons, but that person has lots of followers on TikTok and Instagram and stuff. So for me, it was like a high profile wedding, but it was also my sister's wedding. So it was
yeah,
kind of amalgamation of everything that you don't want a wedding to be as a
yeah,
wedding photographer.
yeah,
The one they tell you not to do, that was it. And I done that, and I done one or two weddings after that, and then I just went no more, done. And I had a really bad experience on the last wedding where it was just, it wasn't respectful.
yeah,
People were rude. The bride was drunk before the ceremony. There were just things going. I was just like, what the am I doing here?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I doing this? You know?
Because there was a point where, like you, I found when doing weddings where, like you, absolutely love it. You're in it for everything that you got, and you're
Mm,
putting so much of yourself into it as well. But then there's a point where, because you've done them so long now,
yeah.
it's just
It's the same
you
thing,
just
different
same
day,
thing,
different
different
place,
day,
every time.
and it ultimately becomes hard to
Yeah.
focus and actually do the job that you need to do correctly.
And you start getting frustrated at what you actually used to laugh at,
Yeah.
which is, people making those typical jokes. Oh, can you make me look a size two?
Mm,
And then when you immediately just want to go, no, you're a size 14,
yeah.
it's like, it's not funny
Yeah.
anymore. And it
No.
just gets dry. So I think after COVID, I just went, this is my opportunity to just go into something else. And then I went into corporate,
Yeah.
which is a whole other thing. So,
Oh, fair enough.
mm.
Okay, from that, I feel like we could go to a number of videos from weddings. This is just like a side thought. For one, I feel like a great video would be on wedding. What's it called? Wedding. Oh, there's a word for it. Was it? Brains frozen. Where you hear the same thing at every wedding. It's like Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
I feel like you could go like Ed
Yeah, you
Sheeran.
could, honestly.
Thinking out loud, which
The
is a
amount
banger. I love
of
thinking out loud.
times, like I had it on the job a couple of days ago, where the lady just went, "Oh, can you make me look like this?" And
Yeah.
it's like, no, I
Oh,
can't. You're ugly. Just get over it. Do you
well,
know
we're
what
gonna have to cut that out, aren't you?
I mean?
You
No,
fucking dick.
no, keep it
Um,
in. I'm okay with that.
um, no, but the other side is when you've got like the best man being like, oh, it's been an emotional day, even the cake is in tears.
Yeah, just awful.
It's
Just
so
genuinely
bad.
awful. I
And
know.
then the father of the bride goes up and it's just like, I got told to keep the speech going for as long as my new
Yeah,
son-in-law can last in bed.
yeah,
See you later. And
yeah,
it's just like, come on.
yeah. I
Oh,
know.
I've heard this
I
too
know.
many times.
There are moments where, as photographer, like you find it funny because you read it once or twice. We hear it every time. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like watching the same comedy show over and over again for a week. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? But yeah, what's the next question then?
Next question. The coolest job that you've ever done?
Eurovision.
Eurovision?
Eurovision was the coolest job I
That
ever
does
did.
sound like it would have been a lot of fun.
That was epic. That was something else. It was so I had to sign an NDA, which was like I can't share the images at all. It's
Yeah.
like the most ruthless NDA I've ever signed.
Well,
Right?
wasn't it even after a time as well?
Yep, just written off.
Okay.
And I'm
Can
like,
we show the photos? We'll blur them slightly.
no, can't even do that. But I got to shoot Eurovision.
Yeah.
That was insane. That was 5 days of photographing back to back. So most people watch Eurovision, they watch the grand finale, which is the main event. But there are like semi-finals and quarterfinals before that. So, and certain countries have to qualify to get into the grand final. Australia being one of them.
Yeah.
It's not even part of Europe.
Yeah.
Like, but Australia seems to be in there every year. That was epic on a grand scale. But my favorites are when I shoot the Pride events.
Yeah.
They are my like most fun. It's mostly because I know most people there. And also they are just chaos on a grand scale, but it's like massively organized chaos.
Yeah.
And there are No other events like it. They have a big parade at the start that runs through city centre. And then you've got 2 or 3 different stages set up throughout the whole event space. And you just get freedom to photograph whatever you like. They give you a brief, get this person, get that person, but that's like 5 acts out of 50 or 60 acts, and then you can do what you like. And it's always good people. People aren't crazy drunk, and it's just great fun. And those are the best ones. And it's the summer, it's hot, it's warm, you can wear whatever you like, there's no dress code.
Yeah.
You can, it's one of those few events where actually you can take 5 or 6 lenses and make use of them, because you've got 3 days there, so you can alternate between how you want to shoot and different stuff, and each act is different, and it's just wicked. Those are my favorite ones. Big concerts, love doing them more than anything.
Yeah, fair enough. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah,
You've done a lot of concerts.
Yeah, I've done quite a few over my career. But that's a story for next time.
It's the next podcast.
That's in the next one. So if you're enjoying the video and you want to see more of this kind of stuff, then please like, follow, subscribe. We're going to continue. This isn't the end. This is kind of in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the next one?
What's the next one? You can probably read it, to be honest with you. What is the next one? Where do you think you could have done better in the past?
Probably could do.
That's kind of like a part of life,
Yeah.
It's good, putting your heart and soul into something, but you've also got to be able to experience it, because there is that cut-off point. And talking from a perspective of a professional,
Yeah.
where a passion becomes a job, but then you lose passion for that because it's a job, right? So I think keeping things interesting is always good.
Yeah.
To diversify what you do.
I always take the time to step out
Yeah.
of something. Like, you'll know from working here that I'll just go for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I won't respond to messages, and I won't. I'll just take myself out, because I have to do that to recharge, and then I jump back in.
Yeah.
It's like tipping your feet in, testing the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could probably have been a bit more on it, I suppose. But now I'm on it. I'll be honest with you.
What, like a kitchen bonnet?
Yeah.
A car bonnet.
Yeah.
That's the quote.
But yeah, I suppose probably just being less lazy and more kind of taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
Because I was having too much fun with it and enjoying it too much. And I say, there's this common misconception that if you have a day job, it means you haven't made it in business, and that's not necessarily true. You can actually do both. You just don't have a social life and you don't sleep.
Yeah.
But it's, that's how. I don't know if there's anything else I would change, really. No. I've done most things right. I just need to do more of it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. But yeah.
Fair enough. I've done most things, but I need to just do more of it. Okay. So going on from that, of course, there are always stuff where you can do better, but learning from them learning from either mistakes or learning from other people is hugely important. With that in mind, who was your biggest influence when it comes to doing photography?
So oddly, someone who shoots stuff that's nothing to do with what I do, which is odd. So if we go back from college, I got really into a guy called Don McCullen.
Okay.
He's war photographer.
Love Don McCullen.
All right. Don McCullen is a war photographer. He's still alive, actually, which is crazy, because he shot like the Vietnam War and Korean War and Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, wars all over the world. And he became sort of famous for taking a bullet and his camera saving his life, because the camera took the impact. So it was right up in his face. He took a headshot, and it was a Nikon FM, I believe. An FM1, FM2, or an FE or something like that, and it hit the viewfinder and it stopped the bullet.
D3, D4, D5S.
Could have been, yeah, but it was like a metal silver one, like film one, and it saved his life.
Yeah.
And the viewfinder, because it's a big chunky bit of glass in the Nikon viewfinder, just took the impact of the bullet and saved his life.
I see.
And,
that's where I feel like today and cameras back then differ. I know a camera back then would be able to save you. I don't think a camera today would be able to save you.
No, definitely not. No, that thing will take a bullet and
shatter,
and the bullet will come out the other end. But his work was always about capturing true meaning, true depth. He was shooting press at a time particularly press photography around war, when there was no censorship, and you were able to post a photo of a dead body on the front page of a newspaper because there was nobody stopping you. And the press was particularly rigorous at the time. So his work became infamous with these striking images of war that became, even today's standards, pinnacle images that would be appropriate today. And his way of thinking, that he's not necessarily about photography, actually he's about people, and he's about being in the thick of it, and he's not afraid to get shot at. He's not afraid to have somebody threaten him with a machete. He's not afraid to get involved and get right up in front of people and stuff.
I can imagine that encounter.
Like,
somebody with a machete. It's just like, okay,
he
can
has
you just stand a little bit to the left?
no, so he has a photo. I'm sure it's McCullen's. It's either him or someone else, but there's a photo of a guy with an AK-47 shooting another bloke, and it's the moment before the gun fires.
Oh fuck!
And it's that guy looking up in terror, and the guy gets shot, but it's that split second before, and that's a really iconic photo. I'll have to see if we can find it. But what that made me realize was that images matter to people, in whatever context that may be. And his work, I've watched all his documentaries, I've got his books at home. He's one of like the people I go, that's the guy I want to be. That's what I want to do. I would go to a war zone and photograph, I would, 100%. But just haven't got the means to do it. But it makes you realize the power of photography, that it can actually change people's perceptions, change people's minds and opinions and things. And it can make you think.
Well, there is that famous photo from the Vietnam War,
the
with the napalm girl.
Yeah.
There's a lot of photos like it, change and alter our kind of opinions of the world, and it's something I feel like is invaluable, and will hopefully continue to be invaluable, despite the advent of AI and everything. I still think the still image, or the moving image done properly and traditionally, I think stands the test of time, and
100%.
it will continue.
I think the only time I've seen it in recent days was Donald Trump's assassination photo, the bullet flying in the back. It's the only time, because we mentioned it in the other podcast, it's the only time in modern history I've actually gone, whoa, there's an image.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
So maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. But that's the only one I can think of.
I think we're in a time where like a lot of like crazy stuff is happening, but opposed to like what's happened in our parents' lifetimes.
Yeah.
I mean, just like we've had a lot of events which couldn't change the course of the world, but you're not talking about kind of like Martin Luther King, JFK, all these people that have existed in the lifespan of our parents.
That's it.
And it's just like, and seeing that for the first time, I feel, in our generation, just real time in our generation, I think it was kind of a crazy thing. No matter where you stand on the aisle,
exactly,
left or right, it's just mad.
I mean, we didn't grow up in a generation where countries were threatening nuclear war on the daily basis, did we?
Huh?
That was the 80s.
Oh, we're close to it.
We're getting there.
Well, but we're not a news channel, we're a photography channel, so let's move on to the next thing. What is your favourite photo of all time? It's the next photo I take.
Yeah, no, I'm not that cheesy.
It's the photo that inspires true passion.
I have two.
Okay.
One that kind of got me on the ballpark of
are they on your Instagram?
Starting paid. Funnily enough, one is and one isn't.
Okay.
So the first one is
I actually don't think Instagram shows really well on here.
I actually had it tattooed on my arm.
Did you?
Yeah. It's a photo that I took of I was photographing a protest in Swansea. This would have been 2012, 2013. The other one should be towards the top in a bit. Yeah, it's the pinned one at the top. It was a protest with. Do you remember a political party called the BNP? Do you remember them?
Yeah.
British National Party. And I was on the opposing side against the BNP,
Yeah.
and there was a wall of police officers between us and the
Yeah.
protesters, and I got myself in the middle. And there's a guy, old friend of mine called Andrew Davis, who was, if you're watching, Andrew, hi. He was the head of the LGBT charity in Swansea, and he was with a megaphone shouting at these people, and these people were wearing like Nazi swastikas. There was one guy dressed as a Grim Reaper with a scythe. There was these kids all in like ragged clothes, like gothic ragged clothes and stuff. And it was really, really grey and miserable. It was like November, it was wintertime. And I had a Canon 550D and an 18 to 135 and a 70 to 300, which I think most people will go.
Yeah, that's a pretty good setup to be
It was
honest,
like
to be
an
honest.
80 quid lens, but it was brilliant. It wasn't even image stabilized. It was just bare basics. And there was these flags, sort of like brown. We will show the image. I'll find the image. It's on my personal Facebook. We'll put it up so you guys can have a look. But there were these flags in the background, and they kind of just framed her, and it was weird. And as I took the camera up, she had bright blonde hair, right, in a mixture crowd of all these guys with like balaclavas on and like stuff all in black and brown tones, and she had bright blonde hair. And she had piercings, and she really stood out because she's almost like she didn't fit in. And as I pulled the camera up and zoomed right into 135 to try and get her, the sun just broke through the clouds at the same moment I took the shot.
Oh man!
So at the same exact instant, right?
Yeah.
And ordinarily with backlighting, because the sun was behind her, you'd have her whole back lit up. But because it was like that, at the exact same moment, it was just her hair that glowed. That was like glowing in the environment. And that photo ended up, so the following morning I put it on Facebook, and wake up like an hour later and it's on the front page of the South Wales Evening Post.
Oh man!
And I was like, okay. And that was a reassurance after going to college and doing the weddings and stuff, that I could take a picture that people would make use of.
Yeah.
And I got paid £50 for it.
Oh no!
And that was the first time I made any money. And I was like, what? And so that's that image. And
That's
then
a good story about that story.
yeah, honestly, I'll show it to you later. It's tattooed on my arm because for some reason when I was 18, I thought that'd be a great tattoo. So I've got this random girl's face on my arm, which is, another story for another time.
Just find the random girl, use Google image search.
Yeah.
From your tattoo, not the photo.
Yeah, I know. And then I built a whole sleeve of photography-based stuff and things I love. But yeah, anyway. And then the second photo is the one that's on the screen behind me, which I took this year in August, on the 3rd of August. And what was the name of the venue? Tortworth Court in the Cotswolds. You've been there, haven't you? You've done a few weddings there, and it's like Downton Abbey. Yeah. It's a huge place, and so it was my sister's wedding. She got married to her now husband, Jamie. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I mean, I was knackered by this point, to be honest with you, because we'd done 13 hours of shooting by this point. And they said, oh, we really want the fireworks shot. Like even before the wedding, they were like, we want the fireworks. Like the fireworks have to be. Yeah. And so I had researched how to shoot fireworks shots and blah, 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 using studio light. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And even going into it, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to just go in and see what happens. And I shot this using high-speed sync. Yeah. So I got the shutter right up to about 1/500th of a second. Yeah. Shot it down at 1.4 on a 35mm G Master. Yeah. ISO 400, I think. Yeah. Shot it at like half power on the studio lights, and then just let the lights in the background, because you're not going to know what the exposure is of those fireworks in the background until they go up. You've got no, unless you do a test run.
It's one of those you just got. It's always like that. You don't know how bright it's going to be.
You have no idea, and you don't know at what because those fireworks run for 5 minutes, right? Yeah. So you don't know if they're going to start darker and then build up brighter, or if they're going to start bright and build down darker. You no idea, and what color they're going to be either. So forget your white balance, because you got purples, greens, reds, blues, oranges, everything going up into the sky. And I shot maybe 400 images in that like 5 minute section because it was burst mode. So it was
Yeah.
flashes going like nuts. Used an 85 centimeter softbox just to frame
Yeah.
them. And then the rest of the exposure came from the light in the background.
You genuinely smashed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that one photo out of all the photos I've given them is the one they love the most.
Yeah.
And it's
Understandably, it's just the moment in it.
and I was like, it's very rare I take a photo and I surprise myself.
Yeah.
And I go, oh shit.
Well, he sent it to me when he took it, and it surprised me.
Yeah.
You
And
could take a good photo.
But
I'm joking. He's a very good photographer.
but yeah, like there was nothing complicated about this image.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly masterful in terms of camera technique. It's
Yeah.
just timing,
Yeah.
knowing where you need to be, knowing how to focus it, because you're in complete darkness. This was shot in total darkness.
Yeah.
You can't see anything. So I'm basically relying on my studio light to be a fill light
Yeah.
rather than a main light.
Yeah.
The only critique I have of it is I wish I put a light on the other side behind the groom because he's got quite a big shadow behind him.
Yeah.
But who cares? You know, they love it, they like it, it's nice, it's romantic,
Yeah.
you know. But that one, I mean, had given me so much attention that I people were asking me to book their wedding on the basis of that one image.
Yeah.
So if I do end up going back into weddings full time, that will be my cover photo.
Oh,
You know, there's no
Definitely.
question of it. So
Oh, you could, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Cool. I remember we do. How long have we going to be going on for?
don't know. Just
So
keep
probably
going.
about an hour and a bit. Favorite mistake of all time. Favorite photo mistake. So you grabbed a photo
Mm.
and it's suddenly crazy. But I can't even think you've gone on all that with the
Yeah.
protest photo.
Yeah, the protest photo would probably
Because
be
I feel
that.
like the mistake, the accidental photos,
Yeah.
like, okay, you might have put a little bit of thought into or
Mm.
whatever. I think they can come out really special sometimes.
Yeah, they can do. Yeah. It's always the ones that you forget you've taken
Yeah.
as well. Like I've taken some images and I'm like, did I shoot that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I must have. I was the only photographer there, you know? So, because you get so into autopilot mode when you're
Yeah.
doing big events that you just go,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the questions that I have for you. I feel like we've gone on for a pretty good time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that. Well, if you like my work, you can find me at tylergeorgephotography.co.uk.
And if you don't like his work, you probably like my work.
Yeah. But no,
No,
we'll
no,
leave
no.
the link to my website and the thing so you can have a
Yeah,
look
no,
again.
for sure.
But definitely.
Super talented photographer.
Thanks.
And my best bitch.
Yeah.
If I am honest. But yes. If you like this video, make sure you like, follow, subscribe if you want to see more. Check out Tyler over on his socials and stuff like that. All be linked down below. And be excited for next time.
Yes, because next time it's going to be you.
It's going to be me talking about me.
We're not even going to switch seats.
Not even going to switch seats. Even clothes. It's going to be filmed right after.
Yeah, exactly.
But, if you're interested in, life, the universe and everything, then, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Might as well.
Bye.
Give it a go.
Try it.
Bye.
Cool.
I'm going to